This is fixing to get real emotional about Renee Good and about my experience as a trauma intensive care nurse, as a nurse for 23 years who took years off in the middle, then studied for 8 months solid because I was too stubborn to take a crash course and want to learn everything all over again, and Renee Good. The men and women like Renee that I helped save. She was alive when paramedics arrived. She had a weak pulse because of course she did. Most of her blood volume was gone by then, but she was alive. And let me just tell you, as the nurse that has been standing over the top of people, what that's like. As we have our arms in the air with blood products in hand, squeezing into these people who are still grasping our hands, who still have the look of fear on their face, some of which have been shot, some of which have been in a practically fatal accident, some of which have fallen off of a roof, some of which have been impaled. I was there. I was on top of her. I was the one that was telling her to hang on. If she had been my patient in the intensive care, she would have heard my voice telling her to hang on. But the brutal truth in this effed up mess is that she didn't hear any of that. She heard everything though. She heard everything. And the reason I know she heard everything, like the people screaming for help, people surrounding her, not allowing help to get with her, while she fought for her life. I had people that were hanging on with a blood pressure of 50. I had a woman one time come back to me after we coded her for days, and she heard my voice. She was in a wheelchair as she was leaving the rehab center in the hospital, and she began to cry when she heard my voice. She wasn't able to tell me, just like I'm speaking to you now, but in broken words that she learned to speak all over again. That my voice kept her alive that night. The things that I told her, 30-some-odd-year-old mother of 3, that she needed to get back to those babies. She had 3 children at home. I was laughing and saying, you don't want somebody else raising your babies. They're gonna fuck those kids right up. You've got to fight, sissy. You got to fight for those babies. She told stories with tears pouring down her face. Thankfully, this app doesn't show, about how, as she was grasping my hand again, she told me that my voice kept her alive, gave her the fight that she needed. And from that moment on, I never stopped talking. I've never stopped talking from birth. But God drove some of us, the universe, our own passion, our own neurodivergence, our own love of science. When I wanted a microscope in the 3rd grade, and there's a photo of me like looking at a microscope and all my brothers were playing with their toys. I don't think most understand that Renee was awake and fighting for her life. All she could hear was nothing. Do you know what 15 minutes feels like when you are passing away? It might as well be 15 months. Have you ever been in a state of an emergency like that? Recently, I had a GI bleed and I was rescued from paramedics on Christmas morning at 2 a.m. That was the longest day of my life. That one day from 2 a.m. to the next morning at 2 a.m. when I was bleeding in the hospital was one of the longest days of my life. They had to pull me up off the floor. I could not, they were asking me to go open the door. And I said, you don't understand. I can't even lift my head because my blood pressure was 54/36. But I had a will to live. I had a strong desire to live. And so did Renee, because I too am the mother of 3 children. But as a nurse, I'm going to tell you right now that she heard everything. She heard everything. She sat there in that car, slowly perishing, and she heard everything. We have been programmed to turn the channel. We have been programmed not to try to change things that we cannot change. Bullshit. The only things that get changed are things that we cannot change. We have Cory Booker over here talking about how ICE needs more training. I just told Sheldon Whitehouse to fuck all the way off as he's over there talking about interest rates, calling this man Mr. President, the president, instead of the rapist, instead of the schmurderer. What the entire fuck is going on? And I listened to this song about, we're all sitting around saying, how did this happen? While we slowly watched it in slow motion happen. Those of us that can see, and those of us that have extreme empathy, and those of us that understand what the fuck we can see ahead of time. Some of us have the gift of clairvoyance, or we have this unbelievable nightmare that we're watching in slow life motion. Not one single lawmaker is doing anything. They don't care. As I asked Mr. Whitehouse, that I used to have a lot of respect for, which one of your donors are you beholden to that you're protecting? You cannot convince me that every single Democrat and Republican is beholden to a donor right now that is about to be arrested. In any normal certain world where women are not getting shot, where a young 20-year-old man isn't blinded by shrapnel, pieces of plastic shot point blank in his eyeball because he was standing there protesting. They want us to ignore this. Are you complying? Are you going to let someone else wait 15 minutes for care that does not come? Are you going to allow DHS to get on the screen with some like 20-something woman going, she was deceased at the scene? The lies. All they have done since before they even took office is lie. They lied to us saying that we would be locked up for saying anything about this administration. They put every single stopgap in place on every single app and now on CBS to try to continue to lie. It's all been a lie. They said that we were going to go on some watch list if we didn't support this ICE shit. It's a lie. They can have a watch list a mile long. It's a lie. They are lying to us. What kind of cowards are we that we allow a woman to perish in our face without a nurse by her side saying, you can fight, we can get you home to your babies? She was alive. And if that does not make you weep, you're broken. Not everyone is called to be in the medical profession, but every one of us were called to this time. We keep saying we want to get out of this timeline, and the hell we do. Yes, but we have people that are counting on us to make a change. Generations X, wake the fuck up. This is our time. I'm the oldest of Generation X, and I'm ashamed of every generation before me. Wake up. She was alive. She heard everything. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do?